In this exercise, we'll introduce how to add our footings and piers under our columns. Of course, their job is to transfer the weight of the building above into the ground, which will help keep the building structurally sound. To begin this process, let's use our skills that we developed when creating our footings to create some of our own custom piers and footings that we'll place under these objects in our model. To begin by doing this, we need to come up here on the Structure tab on the ribbon. Next, we'll move over here and we can see there's this option for Isolated. And that's going to be the kind that we create. It's going to be considered an isolated pier or an isolated footing. So we'll select on Isolated. Next, over here on the left-hand side, we have a 72 by 48 by 18. Now the 72, 48, 18 isn't quite the size we're going to be needing in this project. So we're going to need to duplicate it and then add a few more sizes to it so that we can place those into our model. So to begin with, we're going to come down here to Edit Type and click on Edit Type. Next, we really need to create 3 separate footings for what we're getting ready to do. So in order to do this, we'll start off by duplicating, creating a new footing, and then we're going to do that 2 more times. So come up here to duplicate, select on that. And the first one we need to do is 48 inches by 48 inches by 18 feet. So a very deep looking footing, which is going to actually act as one of our piers to hold up the column up above. So we'll start off by renaming this to be 48 by 48 by 18 feet. And click on OK. Now the width is already okay. That's 4 feet. Or actually, this should be 48 inches, so I'll have to rename that here in a second. And we'll go ahead and change this to be 4 feet. Change this to be 4 feet. And this is going to be 18 feet. So I'll go ahead and put feet on that. Up here, there's still an option to rename it, so I don't have to duplicate it in order to create a new one. Since I need to change this to be 48 inches by 48 inches, I can just come over here, click Rename, change this to be inches, change this to be inches, and click on OK, and we can see that it renamed it. And we have the appropriate dimensions down here. Now let's go ahead and do 2 more duplicates. This next one's going to be 48 inches by 48 inches by 15 feet. And we're going to go ahead and type in 15 feet right here. And the next one is going to need to be quite a bit smaller. It's going to be 72 inches by 72 inches by 24 inches. So we'll duplicate it. We'll do 72 inches by 72 inches by 24 inches. And we'll go ahead and type the 72 inches in, which we can now see as 6 feet. We'll make sure that that's 6 feet, and we'll do the 24 inches for right here. Once we have that, we can already see that if I move my cursor around, we have this little footing that's just sort of following it around no matter where I go. Now, technically, I could start placing it here, but I sometimes have mixed results placing these inside of a 3D view. So I usually recommend, in this case, with this type of footing, doing it inside of one of our plan views. In this case, I'm going to go to the 1-first floor, and I'm going to double-click on that. Next, we need to put these footings right in some of these different locations. So we're going to do footings around here, and then we're going to do some footings here in the middle. The first one that we need to do is going to be down here in the lower left-hand corner. So foundation, isolated, and we're going to choose the appropriate size off of the list. Now, since we're on the first floor, and this one needs to go down further because this corner of the building is a little bit deeper than the other parts of the building, we're going to come over here to the 48 inches by 48 inches by 18 foot, and we're going to come right over here until we hit the intersection of them, and we're just going to click. And then by default, it'll try to drop these footings down to be at the right elevation level. And we'll continue to do this on around, except in all the other locations, we don't need the 18 foot. We're just going to need the 15 foot deep one all the way around the perimeter here. So just a matter of clicking each place where these columns happen to be located at. Once we've done that, we can come back in and start to put our different pier footings on the underneath side of these areas as well. Now that we've gotten to this point, let's go ahead and change this over to be the top of footing. So 0 dash top of footing. And now we need to add our main footings on the underneath side of these piers. So in order to be able to do that, we once again need to come up here to isolated. And we're going to pick that smaller footing that we did earlier. In this case, the 72 by 72 by 24. We'll come over here. And once again, we're just going to start picking the intersections of these different spots. Now that we're almost all the way around, we can come over here and we can select right here. Now, I can tell you, since this one's a little bit lower than the rest of them, it's going to create an interesting condition when we look at this in a 3D view. So go ahead and hit escape after you've placed them in all the different locations, and then come up here to this default 3D view button and we'll take a look at what we have. We can see that we have the piers and the footings in every location. The only problem is that this one's a little bit high. So in order to be able to modify it so it matches the properties of these down here, all we have to do is select on this particular footing. Next, we tell it needs to be offset a certain distance down. Well, when we created these walls, we dropped this wall down 3 feet. That's the reason why this is still floating up here 3 foot higher. So what we need to do is we need to set an offset distance of -3 foot and then click on apply. And you'll see it automatically drop down and clean up on itself with the other footings that are down there at the base of the foundation wall. So placing these items is as simple as creating a footing of the appropriate size, then selecting the column you want to put it under.